All right.
I put these on. Am I going to hear my own voice?
Yeah, you will.
God, I hate my voice. I sound like a chipmunk.
You do? You don't like your voice?
No, I think I sound like a chipmunk.
You have a very nice voice. You have a radio-friendly voice. That's all it takes.
No,
Chipmunks are cute. That's perfect voice.
I say chipmunks because of the cartoon growing up, Alvin and the Chipmunks. And so they had like Alvin, Simon,
Yeah.
And then they had the girls.
Totally remember those.
So I always thought I sounded like...
Childhood trauma of the Chipmunks. Are we talking about the 50s Chipmunks or like the 80s revamp or
80s
the
revamp.
latest 3D?
Oh, God. That was horrible.
All right. Yeah, I totally remember those. Like 86 cartoons after the Transformers and Gem and G.I. Joe and all that stuff.
Exactly. Saturday
totally
morning, waking up, getting a huge bowl of cereal.
Yeah, the Christmas song always comes to mind when you talk about the Chipmunks.
Yep.
Doesn't it?
I think that's the only thing they're famous for.
They've been going on that since the 60s or 50s or whenever that came out. When did that song come out? Chipmunk song? I'd say like 57 or something. Oh no, they redid it in 3D as well.
Okay.
Did they?
59.
59. Ooh. I mean, was that considered like crazy high-tech technology of that era where the voice could actually be manipulated and transformed into like a...
Of course.
Let's not watch
Isn't
it.
that like the whole... Then like the whole like beginning of...
auto-tune.
Yes, exactly.
Auto-tune.
The beginning of auto-tune.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's more like a stretching of the tape, the magnetic tape of what they had. They would just stretch the tape somehow. I don't know how they'd calculate the thing, but the engineer that figured it out was probably high and was just having fun with the gear. And look, dude, sounds like chipmunks. Let's make
Squeaky
millions.
little animals.
Yeah.
It's a possibility.
Yeah. Well, more recently, like maybe in early 90s, there was in Quebec. I don't know if you're familiar with a little bit of the Quebec humor and the people here, what they were up to back then. But anyways, there's a François Pérusse who's a comedian, and that was his shtick. He would do like these voices, which was manipulated through a computer, but still, it was the same concept, but it was a little bit less annoying. It wasn't as chipmunky as that was. In any case, that's a good start for a conversation. Let's talk about chipmunks. So what was your question before we press record?
Oh, okay. If being from Montreal in the Montreal area, if you saw any differences between Montreal, well, the personalities of people in Montreal area and Quebec, like as far as priorities or motivations, like...
I don't know. Initially, Quebec, I guess we'd have to go in depth of what Quebec was and what the industry is and where they're going now and what's the purpose. Culturally, I guess obviously there's way more people in Montreal, different ethnic backgrounds. So I guess to a certain extent that must have like a definite influence. I know that when you go to Montreal and you walk around and you're talking with people, I can't really say that there's less of an open-mindedness than in Quebec. I think in Quebec it's just a different approach. I'm trying to wrap it around like professionally how that would apply or to people that want to make it here in Quebec. But I because I mean I work, I come back here. So I'm only around people that are like in a working mindset. So I don't encounter that many people outside.
Okay, so you still go home? You still go to Montreal every weekend?
Not every weekend. Okay. Like this winter I was a little bit more secluded. I was working on my paintings, working on drawings and music and stuff like that, and trying to get this podcast thing going. But no, I try to get involved here. I mean, I went out. I went on Saint Jean Street and at the pubs. I don't know if you've seen the Nelligan pub or if you've had a chance to visit. But
it's possible. I do a lot of pub crawls with people.
You do?
Don't ask me the names of the places.
Okay, you don't
I can tell you the streets, or I can tell you like what's around it. I'm like, the one around the corner from La Drague, but don't know the name. It's really cool. The really cool one. So, yeah.
I latch onto the Nelligans because the beer is good, and the music is good too, and it's not too loud. When bars are too loud, it just gets so unpleasant.
Right.
when you can't have a discussion with someone, it just gets so unpleasant, and you just don't. You can't. When you have to yell at someone to talk with this person, it's just so like,
defeats the purpose.
Exactly.
But there's the one on St. John, and I do not know the name. And on the sign, there's a monk. It's like something, but it's really cool because there's a whole bar, and you walk through the bar, and then in the back they have like a backyard terrace.
Oh, that's got to be the Nelligan, isn't it?
And it's so nice.
Yeah, so we're looking at photos of the Nelligan. Is that it? No, that's not it. You don't have that. So there's like a monk on it, on the crest, like on the wood crest outside.
On the wood crest. It's like I want to say the sacrament or something like that. I'm not really sure.
The sacrilege. Oh wait, is there a little monk guy here?
That's it.
Yay, sacrilege.
Yes. Hey, that is it. Yay, right across from the church.
Okay.
Yep. That is, and it's beautiful in their backyard.
It is nice. Okay, I've never been there. I have to try it. Sacrilege.
Yep. Very nice.
I don't know. Can you understand a people or connect with a certain crowd through their pub life or their bar? Can you, like, does that describe a society well? If you can go in the pub and then you see what kind of vibe is there, does that?
It depends on the society, because you have to keep in mind there are societies where drinking is not accepted.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You mean certain societies like drinking is shunned upon? Mm-hmm. It's like okay.
Like I come from a very religious family background, and even in the town that my mother lives in, there's one what would be considered a nightclub, but they really can't call it a nightclub, so they have to serve food all night. On Sundays, you cannot buy alcohol at all.
Okay.
And then every other night, the alcohol cutoff is much earlier than other places. Because even in Orlando, Florida, the clubs have to close at 2.
Okay.
And they have to stop serving alcohol at like midnight. It's really, being along the Bible Belt really changes that type of atmosphere. Like I literally didn't drink until I moved to Quebec.
Okay, really?
Like I would. I've had martinis. I think martinis are delicious before moving. Before moving to Quebec, but like to where I've actually drunk more than 3 times in 1 month, it wasn't until I moved to Quebec.
So how long have you been in Quebec?
A little over 7 years.
7 years. Okay. There is an influence of like the Bible Belt in regards to like people's.
Definitely, because there's the like in my mother's case, when we have family gatherings, there cannot be alcohol in her house. Okay. And so we'll have these family gatherings, and like somebody will have a cooler in the trunk of their car, but they will park their car like down the street from the house.
Really?
So you'll see that certain group will start walking towards one person's car, and then they'll walk back and be with everybody else, and then they'll walk again. So it's always really, yes, my mother has extremely strict rules for her house.
Did that go with the Prohibition in like the 20s? Was that where it came from?
I think the South, like the southern states, Georgia, Virginia, West Virginia, Florida, Texas, Alabama, all of them had a huge influence on the Prohibition because in the Protestant religion, alcohol is not accepted.
Okay.
It is not an acceptable beverage because I guess it's because it can lead you to sin, so they try to stay away from it. And also with the Protestant religion, a lot of people convert to the religion after having gone through maybe alcoholism or drug addiction or things like that. So it's really a lot more helpful when you're in a society where they're like, no, this isn't accepted. So it's like you don't have that constant temptation.
That makes sense. Yeah. Like, it's good that religion's going to regiment people and their how they perceive life and how they consume and do stuff, but who regiments religion in return, you know?
Exactly. That's the problem.
Because it gives power in the hands of certain people. And
yeah, I was the kid who memorized the Bible in order to have arguments with my mother. Like, you can't do this. Oh, but why? Because the Bible says. Oh, but the Bible also says. So, yeah, I had a lot of scripture-based arguments.
Did that allow for you to have, like, the right relationship that you wanted with your mom? And I mean, you were at the same level with her, and you were able to communicate with her in her own way of like perceiving reality in life. And I mean,
I don't think so. I think because my mother was an undereducated woman from the South.
Okay.
And she raised me in the northern suburb of Chicago. So I was I would say at 14 years old, I had more education than she did.
Okay.
And so it's in many ways it created other conflicts because like she moved there so that I could get a better education and I could go to university and I could have a better life. But then it was at the same time like you want me to succeed, but you want me to succeed with the
same
level of ideas
like,
that you have.
Yeah. And you can't really stand up to your parents. You can't.
No, exactly.
You can't like say you're doing that wrong. I know better. You can't do that to your parents.
Right.
Like you can't even do it today. I don't think.
No.
Like at any age, you can't. I don't think I would see myself doing that to my father or my mother and telling them you're doing that wrong. Like I know because.
I think that kind of ended with our generation, though, because being that I have an education background and I was taught in high school and I substitute in elementary. Like the high school kids, they're like we're independent, we're allowed to feel this way, and we're gonna say it. And they demand respect, and then they will give respect, and it's different.
Do you think that's right? Do you think that's a good like educational approach to like having a
I think all people should be
Everybody
treated with human respect and human dignity,
Mm.
but you're still a child. You still have a lot to learn, a lot of life experience and growth to do. So
Totally. Yeah. Did you learn that to get to where you're at right now in your studies?
Well,
should we make in context just because you're currently studying at Université de Laval to what is the degree that you're looking at? You're going out for? Is that a bad question currently? It is, right?
No. I'm working on a master's degree in orientation.
Okay.
So my goal with being in orientation is to open a center or a house for other immigrants to come and learn the differences between our cultures and their cultures, because
that's great.
a lot of times
that sounds really like a great project.
Because a lot of times Quebecois feel like after we learn French, everything will be okay. But it's not just about learning French, because there's still fundamental cultural differences between so many of the different countries. And considering right now that the largest immigration swing is coming from Colombia and the Middle East, just with religion and the whole thing about alcohol again, there are many Muslims who do not drink alcohol as well. So there's these huge cultural differences that go beyond just language.
That's a great project. In Quebec, it's like even I struggle with that idea of trying to understand who I am culturally, language-wise. I love speaking in English. I like to... there's all that thing about the separation of Quebec and the language and all that stuff. And I totally understand the Francophone approach of wanting to survive and wanting to be able to make our own laws and being able to not feel like there's a lot of immigration going on that's regimented by Canada, but there's no laws that govern those people that are coming in and telling them you need to learn French.
This past semester, I took a course, and what I guess would be Quebec history and politics. And so we learned about the Revolution Tranquille, which I had already learned about having a history degree in the United States. We learned a little bit about that. And just really the different ideologies that seem to stem out of Quebec and what their actual differences between, I guess, the rest of Canada. It was a really interesting course because I found that it explained some of the things that I saw as different.
Okay.
Because Canada as a whole prides themselves on their openness to diversity. But then I see when it comes to immigration. And okay,
There's a discrepancy.
there's
or
a discrepancy, but it's more like because most of my French courses have been through the Français langue étrangère. So
Okay.
most of us were immigrants in the program. And so everybody, the first thing you learn is to tell your immigrant story. So that's the first thing you learn in French. We
Okay.
learn nothing else, but you're going to learn how to tell your immigrant story because that's all we care about. So, so we get to hear how these people.
I hear sarcasm.
That is all they care about. So this is the first thing you're taught. That's how you're going to feel, right? So we got to hear all these stories about people who just petitioned to be able to come to Canada. And
Okay.
it's in Canada who decides where you go. And it's kind of like, and a majority of people are sent to Quebec because Quebec has the lowest population in Canada, but because the north is all frozen. So, of course, you're going to have a lower population. But anyway, so people are sent here, and it's not necessarily that there's a large percent of people who do want to come here, but those aren't the people in this direction of French courses, because people who do want to come specifically Quebec already know French. So that's a whole, like, another. But the largest, like, 36% of the people who come to Quebec are from Africa and the African countries where they already
There's
speak
already
French.
some French. Yeah. Do you find that when you got here that you were like, oh my God, I didn't want to. I mean, but you had a choice though. You didn't. It wasn't like you were migrating from Syria or from I don't know where. You chose Quebec.
I didn't choose Quebec.
You didn't choose Quebec.
I personally did not choose Quebec.
You didn't choose
I
Quebec.
followed my husband as a good little Christian does.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Yes.
Okay, you angry now about the choice, or did you think at that moment you should have gone? No, man, we're not gonna go to Quebec. What the hell? They're just only speaking in French.
No, it's
What
not.
am I gonna do there?
No, it's not even that. It's just that because I was married and because I do have these beliefs about marriage and relationships based upon my religion. And I mean, my ex-husband is a Quebecois. So we moved here because it was his home. And we had always agreed that at one point in our marriage that we would move back. It just, when we moved, it was a little bit earlier than our original plan.
Okay.
But
So what have you learned in Quebec? Is there a positive thing to Quebec? And then there's a dead silence for like 10 seconds.
no, it's not that there's nothing. I really know. One of the things I really, really, really love about Quebec, which really upsets me about the United States, is the government stepped in to preserve more of nature a lot earlier than the United States. And the United States was expand, take over. We want everything. Move to this, move to the west, move south. Get all the land you can, build houses, build cities. And so we're missing huge amounts of just forest areas and natural water that was dried up to, like, even the Everglades. Parts of the Everglades were dried up to build parts of Orlando, parts of Tampa. So I like how the government stepped in and said, no, these natural resources are so much more important than building some industry.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that because I have tons of allergies, but I still love to be outside.
It's proven that nature will benefit anybody psychologically. You just need to. I'm not saying you need to go hug a tree, but if you go outside and you're going in the forest, there's definitely an advantage psychological advantage to being outside for sure. Definitely, people have to fight for nature, and I think the whole debate right now when people are being called tree huggers or people that just are obsessed with nature and the global warming thing. I mean, we have to be a part of the natural nature. I mean, we have to be part of it.
But it's just the whole idea of energy transfer. It's like we're not only getting oxygen from plants and giving them carbon dioxide. There's more going on there than just respiration.
Yeah. So that's a good aspect of Quebec. There's the closeness to nature. Maybe it's because of industry, maybe because of the maple syrup, maybe for so many reasons. But so that's a good thing.
No, yeah. I definitely learned that in the class that I was in, is that a lot of the original industry came out of your natural resources, like the hydro dams and things like that. So they always preserved well. I like that a lot.
But I don't consider you as like, from the way you're explaining yourself, or the way the context that you're putting there is like you're an immigrant, but you do come from the States, but I don't consider you like an immigrant. You're more like.
I didn't consider myself an immigrant too, until I started searching for a job and searching for a place and trying to get a foundation here, and then it was like, oh, okay, I am an immigrant, even though I am from North America.
So you find there's like a barrier, not a barrier, but you are stopped. Like you would go much faster in what you're trying to deploy, like professionally, and your ideas and what you want to set forth. You feel that there's definitely something that's preventing you from achieving that in the time frame that you were like, come on, I want to do this before 2019 or whatever.
What I found is that because I am Black American, I find that most people don't understand that. Because I find that most people in Quebec are not aware of U.S. history and the slavery era, and how the fact that the reason that there are so many Black people in the United States is because there was slavery for quite a while in the United States. And most people, when they meet me, they ask me where in Africa I'm from. I'm like, come on, my French is not even that good. You can't just assume that. Yeah. Like, my French is not that great. I don't sound like an African or a Haitian. Like, I know I sound like an Anglophone when I speak French. And it's like, I think from the immigrants that I've spoken to, because I did speak with a lot of immigrants before deciding on the fact that I wanted to open up a center and a house for people to come and learn like the proper paths to take for their careers and their lives when they move here, is because I spent a lot of time speaking with other immigrants and getting their immigrant story. Okay. And it is easier when you behave in the way that people expect you to behave. Okay. So like if you're really the idea of what they have of a Muslim, then it's easier. It's like, oh, okay, you're Muslim, so this is why you behave that way. Or like, so people really want me to be African. They really want me to have those beliefs or behaviorisms. And when I do not fit the stereotype that they have, they're very often confused.
Really? I wouldn't know. I'm trying to draw a parallel with me, how I feel when I'm walking on the street, or when I'm in a certain area where I feel like, okay, I don't fit in here.
I've had more than 10 conversations where people ask me, well, where are you from in Africa? And I have to explain that I'm from the United States. And they're like, yes, but your parents? And I'm like, they're also from the United States? And their parents? I'm like, oh, okay. So they go, where are you from? I go, Chicago. They go, okay, but your parents? I go, Florida. Okay, but your parents' parents? I go, Georgia. And they go, your parents' parents? I'm like, 200 years in Georgia. And it just, then I get, but you're Black. And it's like, it's like, I don't know if it's a racist. I don't think it's not a racist thing. It's just a lack of understanding that, it's a lack of knowing the history of North America, I guess. It's like you know your culture, you know your history of Canada as far as it is. But I can say the same thing for people in the United States. They don't know the history of Canada.
Are you asking these questions? Are you being asked these questions when you're going like to the dépanneur or to the corner store? Yes. Or like, but I mean,
Walmart, Tapis Vert, and the man was like, and he was so sincere with it because he's like, but you're just so beautiful. So where are you from? And I'm like, I'm telling you where I'm from.
I just want to propose like some kind of like a theory on why, because it seems there's a fascination in Quebec as to where your ethnic backgrounds are from, but not necessarily just because you have a darker skin or anything. But I think that there's always a fascination. Even in my family, we're always wondering, like, do we have a little bit of Scottish? Do we have a little bit of Irish? Do we have a little bit of First Nations? Do we, like, obviously it's a big mix. but we're fascinated with where we're from. I think it's the roots that people are fascinated with at the basis. It's not a racist thing where they want to know because you have darker skin.
I can accept that, except for when they go, but you're black, and which has happened more than 10 times. The whole conversation goes in a way of like, where are you from? And then we go through the whole genealogy, and it's like evolution doesn't work that way. We didn't go to the United States 200
there
years
may be
ago.
racism, but I wonder if the punchline is supposed to be racist. I think it's just like a curiosity that won't go more in depth as to like racism or like wanting to desecrate some kind of like a...
I think it's racist. I just think it's definitely curiosity, but just accept what people are telling you. It's like, that's more of my frustration. It's like, if I'm telling you that my family has lived in the United States for 200 years and that there were no records kept of which African country slaves were brought from, because the record was kept of how much we were sold for and which plantation we went to, but it wasn't a record of, oh, they came from this tribe in this area of Africa. No. Was they're from Africa? You either went to the Bahamas or you went to Georgia and were split up, and that's that. So we don't have access to be able to even find our roots, which was really interesting to me about this Ancestry.com. It's where you type in...
I'm doing GeneBase. I'm on GeneBase.
But then now Ancestry.com has where you can send them the blood test, and they're supposed to... Right. So I understand there's like this huge push to knowing where you're from now. So I'm really curious I'm really interested in doing that, just to see, well, since there weren't any records kept, maybe I can find out which African country my family's genealogy is from. Or would it just say Africa and not like...
Genebase.com, I did it. I ordered the thing with my sister, and she did the swab. I did the swab, and we sent it back. So it gave us the mitochondrial and all the different chromosome thing for male and female. And it's really interesting. It gave us the map of like where we came from approximately with the different so exactly that, the test with the swab and all that, the genetic mapping. It's really interesting.
Somebody pointed out to me that the reason they're able to do that is based upon the samples that they've actually collected. So if they don't have enough samples from a certain region, they wouldn't be able to pull up necessarily that region as easily as other regions.
Oh, all right. So apparently when this happened, but my family... on my mother's side, or mitochondrial DNA, we came from Sudan and then went through Saudi Arabia, Iran, went to Kazakhstan, up in Russia, then stayed up towards Sweden and went into the United Kingdom at some point. Yeah. So that would be... Yeah. Oh, it's fascinating, this stuff. You should do it.
I wonder if everybody starts at Ethiopia, though, because... because they found the oldest skeleton is from that area. So I wonder if they automatically start everybody there and then move them.
I don't know.
Or if it's...
I think, I don't know. Oh, that's true. Ethiopia. We started in Ethiopia, then Sudan.
No, it's really interesting.
Yeah. There is a fascination with like the origins, ethnic backgrounds. I wonder to which extent some of those people are just a little bit ignorant versus a little bit like just really curious. Or don't you find that would be like a good marketing approach to your project? How many people are in your new project? Is it something that you're currently working on, like you want to set in motion, that you want to put in place?
In May, I participated in a conference of Afro-Canadian jeunesse, something like that. Okay. So I go and I sit and I just listen to people's stories, and I listen to so really I just have just started by just simply having conversations with people and finding out their story, finding out how they view things here. And I know that a large majority, especially the ones who petition to come to Canada, many things are better because they were leaving poverty or they were leaving war or things like that. So there are many, many aspects that are better, but there's still oftentimes that disconnect where they just really, there's huge differences between, I'll just say, the North American culture and, like, say, the Sudan and things like that. So it's just really, and a lot of, for certain people, there are 3 different French programs in Quebec. So there's Francesation, which is run by the government, and it's free for immigrants for the first 3 years that you're here in Quebec. And it is like, I'll say 50% French language learning and 50% Quebec cultural learning.
Okay.
Because they are aware that there are these huge cultural differences. And then there's where you can go university or cégep. And then even within that, there's 2 different tracks you can take. So I've found that for certain immigrants, Francesation is perfect and it works really well.
Okay.
But for the ones who have been to university and already have educations, already have a degree, being in Francesation is not what you need to learn. Or people who are married to a Quebecois or Quebecoise, and that's why they've moved here. So they're going to learn about the cultural aspects by being in their relationship. What they need to learn is just French. So just teach me French. And so it's like really just sitting with people and making sure that they have a foundation and start off on the right track for getting their lives back to the point that they want their lives to be at.
Okay. So you're saying that there's like, by default, there's some kind of void that is existent in regards to education or familiarizing yourself with the way that it works here in Quebec and bridging the gap into professional life.
Right. I think
so. That's what you're proposing through your project. Is that correct? I don't know.
Because being in the master's degree program for orientation, and I'm in class, and we're really taught one track to go down. This is what you do. Well, there are 5 different philosophies, so you choose which philosophy works with your personality or works with your client's personality the best. But there's still like, this is what you do as an orientator, and so it really doesn't leave a lot of room for the fact that there are so many variants. So if you're working, it's like set for Quebecois. And if you're working with somebody who's not a Quebecois or Quebecoise, there are other factors that needed to be added into that equation. Okay. And we're not, so far, I could be wrong, I'm not quite finished. So there are several classes I still need to take. But as far as I've seen, I've had one professor who did, at the end of the course, introduce cultural and ethnic differences as well as feminine differences. So like when working with a woman, you have to remember these things. With working with immigrant, you may have to realize these things. Okay. But as far as like a separate course, that doesn't exist. Okay. And so even with my own experience of working with an orientator to figure out what it was I wanted to do while I was here, there were certain things that, like, there was a certain disconnect because she just didn't understand why, given why I moved here and how I feel that it's important to behave this way when you're married and with your husband. And like, there was a bit of a disconnect between that because women here are so independent and powerful, and
But you're independent and powerful.
I am independent and powerful, but I am still also in a way a traditionalist and believe in traditional structure and values. But
so you think that? Well, explain that, please, because for me, what comes to mind in that when you say that is that traditionalist. That would mean that the woman, air quotes, needs to follow the man, air quotes, or what is it that you're trying to say there?
It's not of following. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we're going to get a little religious.
All right, no problem.
Okay. So growing up, so in the Bible, it
Yes.
says that God made Adam fall asleep and he took a rib from his side
He
and
did?
made Eve.
Why did he do
Yes.
that?
Because he was alone and he needed a partner.
Oh, Adam.
Yes. So then, so the belief that I was always taught was God didn't take you from a foot of Adam, so you're not subservient to your husband. God didn't take you from the head, so you're not above your husband. God took you from the side, so it's a partnership. And you determine within your partnership how your partnership should work.
Okay.
And shouldn't allow... Well, that's more modernist take on it. My mother would say something completely different, but you're allowed within your relationship to define how your marriage and your life works.
Okay.
Does that help?
Well, it helps me to
'Cause I will-
understand your views on men versus women and how it influences the.
No, it's really funny because there's a whole thing in the United States where there's the Black feminist movement, and
Okay.
instead of saying that we're feminists, we say that we're womanists. Because the original ideology of feminism came from Caucasian women,
Oh, okay.
and they didn't include Black women for a very long time.
God.
And so it's even a whole different track of feminism for Black women, because we do come with these religious and cultural beliefs that were passed down to us, but it doesn't stop us from as being independent people who take on our own lives and believe in equality for everybody. But it's just a little bit different.
Okay. Well, it's an adjustment because there's some kind of obviously if the movement comes from like a group of white chicks that were just like racist.
I'm not gonna. They weren't racist, but I mean, feminism did
At the time,
I mean, it was like
that
with
was the way of
Susan B.
thinking.
Anthony, it did happen because Black men were given the right to vote in the United States, and she came out and said, "How are you going to allow Black men to vote over your own wives, mothers, and sisters?" And that's kind of how it started. It's not to say that she was racist, but she was like, how do you trust this person more than you trust your
wife.
own wife, mother, and daughters? So
Yeah. So, but I mean, going back, okay, so in religious context, that's how it would, because I was saying you're independent and powerful, and then you doubted what you said, and because you brought up the Adam ripping his rib out of his side and all that, but in context, religiously and culturally, do you feel that it influences your own judgment and the way that you find yourself powerful, or does it block you?
I don't know if it's religious or if it's more cultural. I don't want to be powerful.
No?
No, it's because I feel like, for me, when I think of powerful, I think of, I want to say politicians and warlords.
Corrupt
So I was like, it's not necessarily, I don't want to be powerful because I don't want to dominate over other people.
I totally understand that, and I don't want that either. I don't feel that people should have power over other people, and to the point where I'm like, oh my God, biology, why is it like sex and men and women, why is that there? Why is there always like some kind of like a advantage over different people and war and all that? Well, like, why is human biology just inevitably bringing about war, and why is it always about dominance? Why is it about the hunter and gathering the food, and then the fire and the alpha male and the people that follow in the hierarchy? And why is that?
That's why I think it's interesting about your DNA map, because it starts in Ethiopia. So I'm wondering if that's why I kind of posed the question, is like, oh, it says that it started in Ethiopia and it went this way. So I'm like, do everybody start in Ethiopia? And is this something we can share? So we're like, look, people, we're literally all the same. We literally all started in Ethiopia and spread out from there. Ethiopia. See? So we need to promote this idea that, look, this this company says it all starts in Ethiopia, so we're all the same. Get over it, people.
I'd love to have someone here from like Université de Laval that could explain this to me, because that would be a great question to ask. Like, is everybody coming from Ethiopia?
Like, is that just like their starting point for their company because they understand genealogy? I don't know.
Do you know the craziest thing now? They discovered recently, they drew a parallel, they drew the DNA mapping of Neanderthals.
Okay.
And they figured out that anybody outside of Africa has Neanderthal DNA. So that means that true for all you racists out there, the real humans are all in Africa. Like if I have like, depending on which region your family comes from, that would mean that any Caucasian European would have up to, I'm going to massacre this, I have to find the real stats, but apparently it's in between 4 and 10% of Neanderthal DNA. Probably 1 and 4%. Check that out. But it's fascinating, isn't it?
It is.
That's crazy. That's recent. They just
Kinda
mapped that.
reminds me of an episode of The Simpsons, but...
Is it? Which one?
Because it's like an episode where... what's his name? The neighbor... Ned Flanders is trying to say that we're not derived from monkeys and people don't behave like that. And then Homer's like in the background behaving like a monkey. And he goes, Homer, stop being such a Neanderthal. And he's like, oh, it's like, oh, maybe we do. Maybe certain of us do come from monkeys and we did evolve that way. So it's really...
Well, it's fascinating. I love this stuff. Anything that's anthropology, science, and all this DNA stuff, that the work that they're doing currently, I don't know at Université de Laval if they have that, but that's a breakthrough. I mean, mapping the Neanderthal DNA and realizing that there's in between 1 to 4% of the DNA in Caucasians that is actually Neanderthal. So that's incredible.
Well, I mean, it kind of, I'm going to say, it kind of... maybe can explain some of the bone structure in the face. Possibly. Because I know like people are like Africans have higher cheekbones and things like that. So
possibly. Yeah, I'm fascinated with faces. That's an interesting thing. Yeah, that might totally explain it for sure. Yeah, look at this guy.
Yeah, I know he looks like that's his great-great-great-great-grandfather. Like he completely. And there are some people who really have stronger features. They tend to play sports. Like a lot of hockey players have really big foreheads and
I think it's the helmets. I think it's the helmets are squeezing their heads too much.
No, but there are certain features about certain sports where you can look at a person and goes, he's a boxer. Like cauliflowering ears. He's a boxer. He's a hockey player. He's a basketball player. Oh, you don't play basketball. You're just really tall. Sorry, sir.
Yeah. So anyways, that's fascinating. Is there stuff like that at the Université de Laval? Is that something that is like taught? Or?
No idea. I thankfully did all my sciences in the United States.
Okay.
Even though I have heard it's probably easier to be in sciences at the Université de Laval because it's... majority of your work can be done in English because in order to be published in the prestigious science journals, you have to write it in English. So maybe that might have been. Maybe I should go back to chemistry.
Oh yeah, but have you studied?
I started university biochemistry. Because really? I've always. Ever since I was a little girl, all I want to do is help people. Like, that's my goal in life, is to help people, which is why I don't want to be powerful, because I just want to help people. And I think, I don't know, it's like I feel like being powerful goes opposite of helping people.
Yeah.
But it's just...
I understand that. Yeah, we went off that tangent. Yeah, powerful, yeah. It's more like an inner strength.
Yes.
Maybe that would be more precise.
Yes, I have lots of inner strength until I have a bad day. Then I want to cry and curl up in a ball. But, like, so since I was a little girl, I've always wanted to help people. And especially since... my mother worked very hard, so I've never been poor, like ever. And she would take me oftentimes to, because I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, she would take me to like the ghettos in Chicago, and we would give out my old clothes and my old shoes, and we would do a lot of things to help poor people. And so it was instilled in me at a really young age to help others. And so when I started, and there was a lot of sickle cell anemia and other things in my family, so people were dying earlier in life than they probably should have. And so I was like, oh, I want to study, I want to be a biochemist because I want to end sickle cell anemia, and I want to end Tay-Sachs disease, and I want to find better solutions to cancer research other than,
So the whatever's there at that time, and like the treatments that are offered that were usually pretty awful, I guess.
Instead of chemo and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is what I want to do. So I started biochemistry. And I went for quite a while, and then they always have job fairs. And so people come in, and so I thought, like, I'm like, yes, I'm going to graduate, and I'm going to work at St. Jude's Children's Hospital, or I'm going to work at Johns Hopkins Hospital in the research clinic and just do research and help people and change the DNA and help people's lives. And, like, Johns Hopkins didn't come, and St. Jude's Children's Hospital didn't come, and the people who were there to talk to the biochemistry majors were a lot of military contractors.
Oh, really?
And a lot of there weren't any pharmaceutical companies either, because I would have been okay with that as well.
Okay.
But it was more like, you're going to be like, I left with the idea of, if I stay in this, I'm going to be building like biological warfare.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, so that's not helping people at all. So then I changed to psychology and finished psychology, then went to history, and I really like school.
Okay.
So I like to study a lot.
That's great.
So yeah, but it's a great study, but I was just really discouraged by my potential job opportunities after finishing. Yeah.
So that shows a little bit the extent of the USA and their investment in military actions.
Yes.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Because you definitely just wanted to help people through your work, and you weren't offered the opportunity to do that. But you kept you kept your strength and your resolve to want to help. So that's through, like, you have an extensive resume now with all the stuff that you've done.
I do, which is kind of a bit of the upsetting thing for me. It's like I guess it's like what I was trying to get at with the parallel with asking you if there's a difference between Montreal and Quebec, is because I know in the United States, and like I said, I grew up in a completely white, rich neighborhood in the suburbs of Chicago. And so I was always taught, because a lot of them were descendants of Irish or Italian and things like that, and their parents or grandparents had the immigrant story of coming to the United States poor and working hard and building their careers and their lives, and now our children have better lives. And so I was raised with that idea that as long as I got a good education and as long as I presented myself always in a professional manner and was well educated, and I wouldn't have any problems. And I hadn't had any problems. I have a stellar education, and I'm well poised and proper and presentable. And so, and was literally until I moved here that I was first face to face with the fact that, like, somebody literally told me my education did not matter. I'm like, how does my, and I'm like, I graduated. No, I think it was more like because I graduated with honors, and graduating with honors in the United States is a really big deal.
Okay.
And so they were like, oh, well, you graduated. That's all that really matters. The fact that you graduated top 10% of your class doesn't really...
No, I don't think so. I think that afterwards, it's your responsibility for you to market yourself appropriately. Like, if you have that in your credentials, then you have to flaunt it. You have to use that as your front page of your book. That's what you have to do. I mean, it's all about marketing today. People that say that are maybe a little bit jealous, hiding jealousy, just desecrated or like reducing the quality of what your studies were. And no, I don't agree with that. It's all up to you to market yourself right, I think.
This year in like April, I spoke with a completely different
person and that
lady
person
in
wasn't.
another department, and she was like you said, well, with your educational background, you actually do not need to have a master's degree in orientation because you already have the education to do it. So it was like, oh, yay, I just wasted a year and a half of my life.
It seems to me you need to surround yourself with people to find which are the different, what you need for that project to take flight.
Thankfully, I do have a lot of marketing and PR.
Yeah, but you can't do
people.
everything though.
No. I have, but that's what I have so far.
Okay.
Like those are the people that I have the tendency to naturally gravitate to. Or
Okay.
I don't.
Well, yeah. Because you can't do this on your own.
No. I have no
Don't try to
intentions.
do that on your own. That doesn't show that you're not strong enough. It's just
I have
too big a project to do that on your own. I think that would be stressful for anybody. I don't even think your project should be restricted to Quebec, actually. I know it would be probably the perfect place to test it out because it's Quebec and all the factors are there to test exactly the product or the service that you're offering through this. And it's going to be difficult for sure, but I mean, I think there will be a need for this.
But there is a need for it, and I'm not going to say this is not unique. This concept is not unique because they just opened a center in in Lévis.
Oh, Lévis, okay.
Like 2 years ago, because for some reason there was a huge immigration fluctuation in Lévis over the last 2 years.
Really?
And they just opened one there. But I think that the major difference with mine is that there are several services in Quebec and in Lévis that are designed to help immigrants.
Okay.
The problem with all of them, because I've visited each and every one of them at some point while I've been here, is that they're all Quebecois who just, not necessarily, they're Quebecois who want to help the immigrants. And so with mine, what I want to have is I want it to be first a multilingual service.
Okay.
I already have somebody for Spanish and I have somebody for Arabic. Okay. So I would like to have somebody with Mandarin, somebody with Japanese.
Interesting.
Because, I mean, how can we help you if we can't even speak your language?
Yeah.
Most of these centers are, we'll help you once you get at least a base in French. But so that's why I said like the first step for most people is getting into the right French courses. Because if you don't get into the right French courses, you're not going to get that base that you need to then go to the other centers to get help. Because like I think the only place that I went to, I went to Cégep Sainte-Foy. And we did all of my paperwork in Spanish because I have a base in Spanish. Okay. But there was nobody there in the office that had a base in English. So I had to do all of that in Spanish. And then when you sign up for the Francisation, the government courses, all of the information you receive back and all your confirmations for your courses and all the things that you need to do, you receive them in French. Yeah. And it's like, I'm signed up to take beginner French and you send me my paper in French. I'm like, how am I supposed to know where to go if I can't read this? This is way
my friend from Iran,
beginner.
that's what she said. She that's exactly what she mentioned a few weeks ago. She told me exactly that. Like, how are you supposed to fill out the form if you can't even speak the language or if you don't know where to go or
Exactly. And that's actually what brought about my desire to do this was just my own experiences coming up against the walls as trying to get in the right French courses and trying to find just signing my children up for sports or the activities that they want to do, dance classes, cheerleading. It's like, oh my gosh, like, oh, sorry, this is not your district. You have to go over there. It's like just the things that you need, the basis that you need to have just a normal, productive life.
Like you said before, that you wasted a year and a half of studying, and if you had known that you could have just done it right then and there, but you're still learning. The project is growing with the things, the feedback that you're getting, and the exchanges that you're getting with other people. Right. So
I think that's been the upside to having been taking the extra time in university, is being able to actually speak with other people. And it actually led me to, I have so many project ideas, but like so much, I like to do research.
Are you an idealist?
No, I like to do research, and I like to come up with these questions, and I like to like do surveys and then like figure out why people do the things that they do. Like I want to do.
You're an anthropologist, or
I am.
Are you?
I am. Yeah. No, one of my other degrees. No, one of my master's degrees is educational psychology, and so we had to multicultural education. So we had to take a few anthropology courses.
Wow.
It was really hard.
Oh, was it? Is it?
I don't know.
It's tough, eh? Anthropology. I can't imagine this being like an environment where you have to be retracted, where you just have to keep an objective view, where you're far away from everybody, but you're just not going to get involved because you don't want to jinx the results.
Right.
Like Margaret Mead, what she did in the 50s with the sexual revolution, and just everything was just based on a lie, and the fact that she just misinterpreted the women that she was speaking with in the tribes, and I can't remember where it was.
Exactly. See, that's why I want to. Like, that's why it's like, counseling, I'll stick to more psychology so I can actually interact with you more. But it is, I really do like to study society and how people behave, and where do these ideas initially come from, and why do you think and behave and feel the way you do? So is it personal experience, or... Because I know...
Because that's part of your motivation then. If you're getting involved with these people and you're helping them to better understand the Quebec culture and better immerse themselves into it, but at the same time, that's what you're getting out of it. You're able to, not spy, but you have the anthropological approach to it, where you can just look at what's going on.
Write a book later. Change the names.
You could. If what you're trying to set forth is really a decent thing, and you're trying to help people, and that's can't say no to that. That can't be wrong.
Of course, I agree with what you're saying, but
it's tough to put projects on the map. That's for sure. It takes a lot of patience, and there's frustration. That I totally understand. Yeah, but your thing is grassroots, I feel. It's not, you're not waiting for like a degree, as she said. You can do it now. You can go do a Facebook group and exchange with all the people that you speak with that are immigrants, and keep them on that page. Keep in contact with them, talk with them, and let it grow. Plant a seed. Do it now. You can do it. You have all the tools right now. Have fun. Have your Facebook group. Talk with people. I know you want a physical interaction.
Currently on Facebook, I'm a part of a few different groups.
Okay.
Based upon needs of people in Quebec. Like, there's oh my gosh, I'm 3 different groups. There are Anglophones in Quebec, or friendly Anglophones in Quebec, or Anglophones that want to hang out because we all live in Quebec. So it's so there's already things like that I'm a part of, but I haven't really seen their value.
Yeah,
really.
It's more like a friendly group that's been put there just for
So I never
let's
really
get some beers and stuff.
Exactly. Oh, we're going to be here this weekend if anybody wants to join us. So it's I haven't really. I guess it's just because of that I never really thought to do a more serious based one.
Because that could definitely be a start. I'm sure, because you want recognition eventually. You want a governmental backing. You want something. You want it to grow to the extent where it's part of the institution. You don't want it to be just a Facebook group.
No, I want a physical community center with a daycare and 2 or 3 rooms, so people who may need a place to stay will have a place to stay. Even when I was little and we would give my clothes away, it's always just the happiness of seeing somebody else happy. I feed off that energy. So it's that energy, that happiness, that joy that they have for having something better is really, I feed off that. I really do.
Yeah, I understand that. I could definitely relate to that. When I'm doing my paintings or my drawings and I wanted to offer to someone, I'm painting, and I think of what that person's gonna feel, and where it's gonna hang it, or what it's gonna do, how the person's gonna feel when I give it away, or I give it to that person. That definitely motivates me for my art. To go back to your initial question about basically it's the options in Quebec that you were asking me about, like compared to Montreal, and I don't know, it's a shortcut of your original question, but abbreviation of your initial question, but I think all the components are there in Quebec. I think it's just your resolve that you need to make sure that that's the template city that you want to try out your project on.
Well, it kind of is a template city by default because it is where I have to live for at least the next, how old is Abby? 10. So at least the next 6 years.
Okay.
So like I have no choice. I wish I could pick up and go somewhere else, but I have to be here for at least the next 6 years. And
Okay.
it is here that I've gained the experiences that have really pushed me to want to help. Yeah, I want to help immigrants, but I also have this whole heart for helping the gay, lesbian, transgender community as well. So that would definitely be a component of it. I don't know how to slide it in the back door type of thing, but
it's that's a whole different subject, trans and all that. I feel on my own impression is that heterosexual individuals need to understand and respect trans, but they should also not get involved too much, not try to be preachy, not try to take control of that situation and control of the movement, because it has nothing to do with heterosexual. But that's my opinion. I mean, I helped out. I have a friend, Elijah. He was looking for financing. He was doing like a crowdfunding thing, and I didn't like his initial video, so I helped him out to have a proper marketed video, properly filmed, and good audio and all that stuff. But I didn't get involved more than that. I don't feel that I deserve or I know enough of what they're going through to work in that field. But anyways, that's just my opinion. I maybe there is a need. Maybe there is, and probably you know something I don't know that. But yeah, no, but it is a worthy cause. I mean, all of the trans issues and all that stuff, that's fascinating. Yeah, I like the gray area in life of people. It's not just black and white. It's not just like people are nice or they're bad or they're, heterosexual or homosexual.
Actually, it would be so much easier
so many
if
degrees.
It was. If
yeah,
everything
seriously.
was just this or that, it'd be so much
or religious easier. Or not religious or atheist or agnostic or Christian or whatever. Yeah, it would be more simple. Seriously, but it's not.
Nope. Life
Sadly.
is very complicated. Many layers. I'm like Shrek. An onion.
Reference to...
I know, I can't help it. It's like all my references have been like literally based upon like Chipmunks, Simpsons, Shrek. That's a big part of my life too.
That's all right. That gives you a good perspective. But no, obviously, if people were just not so... But that's the problem, because people, that's what they want. They want you to adhere to a political party. They want you to keep that religion in your life. But it doesn't work like that. It's not just precise in one
No, but that's what I was saying
path.
about people wanting immigrants to be this way. It's like, oh, this is the way... like you're supposed to be because you're this immigrant, you're from this place. Okay. And so when you're not that idea, you're not like, this is the definition of a Muslim that we have. And when you're not that, they're like confused. Okay, so I have a friend from Dubai and he went for a job interview. And it was a woman who was giving the interview, and she asked him, she's like, so how do you find it living here in Quebec where women could be dressed like I'm dressed right now? And he has a lot of personality, but it was a job interview, so he rolled it back and he's like, "Well, ma'am, where I'm from Dubai, and actually you're a little bit overdressed for the way some of the women there dress." And it was really that whole idea of you're from this area, so obviously
You're Muslim.
this
and
is
you
all
have
we
to-
know. Women
Yeah.
are covered up from head to toe, and they're not allowed to dress a certain way and show their hair. And so it was like she really was expecting a different answer than he gave, and it was very apparent in her when he responded, and her whole mannerism changed after that.
The belief system that people are imposed or fed and that they end up believing, and then after that the government has less of a problem to impose the rule in other countries, and like the states, what they're doing, it's like
No, I've always had issues with that. I always have issues with people going into a place and it's like establishing their ideology. Like, so
Yeah.
I've always had a big issue with the United States being in the Middle East, and like, oh, well, now you need democracy. It's like, their country has functioned for
Yeah.
how many centuries, and just because it's not your system that is obviously not functioning too well itself, you can't go in and impose your ideas on these people who've had their way of life for, oh, I hate it so much.
Yeah.
I
Totally.
oh my gosh.
That's a theme of it's been going on now. The imperial United States after the British, how they acted for hundreds of years, and it's ongoing. I don't understand that. It's a fascinating thing where human beings would do this. Would have one person that is powerful, that would be at the helm of the ship or the nation, and ideologies would be pushed down, and people would be just dumbed down and not educated, and so the government would just keep pushing their agenda and invade other countries, and it's sad. It's really sad. I just hope one day. It's idealist, but I mean, war sucks. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's so horrible, and
I think that's why, like, I never think of something like Facebook as something serious. Because I always feel that the majority of the things going on Facebook
consumers.
it's distraction.
oh yeah,
It's
depends what
like-
you do with it. But I understand. Yeah,
It's
totally.
like, hey, look at these celebrities doing stupid stuff, so
Yeah.
you don't notice that now we've just signed another war bill or another war treaty, or we're gonna go invade this place or that place. But hey, Kim Kardashian and whoever is doing this, so pay attention to this and don't look at what's actually going on in the world and what's actually going on in your life.
Yeah. Teachers should be the ones being paid. Teachers should be doctors should be, well, they're already paid a lot, but I mean, teachers especially, I mean, they should get paid. They should get as many leaves of absence in their years as they want, especially if they have kids. There's such a disrespect in that regards to the art of teaching, and it's sad.
That's really true.
The value system is definitely messed up.
I've always said that I'm like, okay, this person can. My thing has always been on professional sports. So I'm like, okay, this person can dribble a basketball, he can kick a football, he can swing a bat. But who taught him how to hit that bat and dribble that basketball and even count to 5? Like who? Like your coach, who's the coach who took you on and taught you the sport your whole life, is not even making an eighth of what you make in 1 year. So that's like, I have a problem.
Disproportionate.
Yes. And then people still go buy tickets and like, I really need you to like, I guess like it would take individual sports players to just donate money, like go donate money back to the schools that you were educated in. Donate money to the coach who taught you your sport and worked with you all that time, or the
And they
community
often do,
centers.
I guess, but they just use it as a PR opportunity most of the time, I guess.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes it less interesting.
Right. But then there actually could be people who do it and don't use it for PR, but then that's how we don't know that they're doing it. So it's like, I'm sure, because I know Crosby does it, and I know Subin does it, and there are a couple of people,
Yeah, he
but
does.
that's because those are the ones we hear about. So I wonder how many people are just doing it literally under the table, just helping out.
Apparently, Prince was doing a lot of giving cash and doing like he wouldn't say it. He just kept it like hid it and didn't mention it. But when he died, everybody like a lot of his actions were people realized that. Yeah,
Yeah, he is a great man.
humility is a good thing. Yeah, I like humility. But how do we inject that back into education? Like, how do we make people want to learn? How do we make people want to realize that their intellect is really powerful and strong? Actually, I don't want to say powerful, but you know, there's just a strength there in wanting to learn and inquire and try to absorb knowledge. That's like it should be at the basis of everybody's endeavors and throughout the day. That should be like the driving force.
It should be.
Why is it not? Damn it. Why?
I don't know.
You know, some people just drink their beer, watch their TV, watch the whatever. I haven't watched TV in months, but you know, why do people do that? Why do they just watch TV all day and they just want a place to rest their bones and relax and not have to worry?
Because they've worked so hard during the day.
Yeah, they get tired out from work.
And I think that's the big divide too. I think it's based upon what you actually do for work during your day. It's like if you're working a physically hard manual labor job, when you're finished, you're going to want to just sit on the couch. Like, I can't move my body. My muscles are sore. I'm going to sit down. Gonna drink a beer to relax. Watch.
Oh, I totally understand that.
Watch my sports team. And, or because the people who tend to really value education are the people who are in different careers that require you to have really high education, or the people, or they value education because they want better for the next generation. They know, as a parent, I realize that I am really fortunate to be able to spend so much time studying and being in university and at the same time taking care of my children, because there's not always that opportunity for people to get more education after they've had children. And so you want it for your children. You want your children to be better, but you don't see the possibilities for yourself any longer because now I have to work and I have to provide and I have to take care of these little
human beings,
future adults.
Yeah.
Because I've heard that a lot. Because I teach English and I teach adults. And it's very fortunate that that a lot of these corporations hire English teachers to teach their employees during the work hour days. Because if not, many of them say, I want to go back. If I could, I would go to university and get a bachelor's degree because...
But you don't have time.
But I don't have time. I work, I take care of my kids, and I'm not going to go to night classes because that's my time to relax. So
I just want to make sure what time it is. We don't want to... How long have we been talking for? Yeah, it goes by fast. It's... Well, I mean, I knew we were going to talk a lot. I mean, you're a good conversationalist. And your project seems great, and I hope that when it is taken to the next level, that you'll come and have another chat with me and let me know what's going on. And if I can help you with the Facebook stuff, I'd definitely help you with
yes, please.
Because there's...
so you are my daughter. Can't really leave it up to a teenager.
Well, bonding time. It's... No?
She helps me with my clothes. That's her job.
Yeah, but that's great. Facebook, if you can connect with your daughter about Facebook and she give you hints on how to use it to reach out and see what people are doing out there and close to what you're trying to achieve, and maybe that could help you.
No, she's more of the let's become media sensations and become like, she's a teenager. She's more like the... I want to be like a Kardashian and let's take pictures and get a bunch of likes and hits, and that's
that's scary, style. Isn't it? I find it scary. Like even me on Instagram, I'm looking at my photos. I'm like, okay, a little bit too many selfies. I know this is my page and I want to show where I'm at, but I mean, can I just take photos of other things and you know, I get it, like balance it out.
I get that. Like even like I have an Instagram, but I didn't start my Instagram. My daughter started my Instagram.
Okay.
And so it actually started of my youngest daughter. She's like, she's so cute. We're going to be famous through her. And so that was like the goal behind the Instagram. And I'm like, oh, geez.
Yeah.
It's changed since then. It's kind of everybody now. But
okay.
She was very determined that because her baby sister was so cute, she was going to become famous by managing her baby sister's career.
Why is that? Is that an ideal that people are thriving for? It's scary.
And it's so the opposite of what I try to teach them. I'm like, no, you need good grades, you need an education, you're going to actually go to university. I don't care. I'm like, even if you do become an internet success, you're still going to university because I need you to have a degree.
I think it's like a biological, genetic, human predisposition where we're trying to be the alpha or be noticed or strut our feathers or having the it goes back far away, like in the past, like in the way that we comport ourselves or the way that we act. Why is it? But I mean, it's got to be that. It's got to be some kind of like I don't know. We can definitely delve into that for hours.
But, yeah, I agree with you because I think it's naturally in us to want to be noticed. Yeah. And I think we're taught to not be noticed. It's like I feel like I was taught to, because in my culture, when I was a child, children were to be seen and not heard. So I was taught to be like really mousy and really shy and really quiet, but made sure that my clothes were clean and my hair was done well, and so I could be presentable because parents are judgmental. Moms are really judgy against each other. So bad. We have a whole chat about moms and our issues. But yeah, so we always had to be really cute, but then really quiet, because if you said the wrong thing, that could also be like, oh my goodness, my daughter would never say something like that. So like I was taught to be kind of wanting to be reserved and not too noticed and just be in the background, be in the background. It's okay to be in a background, but I had to be taught that. So I guess that is something naturally within us to want to be seen.
Yeah.
Unless we're introverted. I don't know. You're more introverted than I am. I'm definitely an extrovert.
Yeah, you're an extrovert. Yeah. I like being introvert and alone and thinking and walking in the forest and just breathing nature and taking photos and walking and thinking about stuff and analyzing and ideas popping in my head. And I think, obviously not everybody's like that. But,
I am so like that.
But you have a lot of ideas too.
No, but that is my alone time. Like that's what I do while I'm working out, to say. So like I like to run for for kilometers, because I always forget that.
I can't do more than 3.
Like, what's miles? It's a kilometer. So kilometers, but it's just being able to have that time to think about things. I am extroverted. I love being around people. But I have to have that introverted introspection time as well. That reflection.
So maybe that's why you weren't attracted towards the social media to try to figure out your project. You were more going to meet people. You were out there. You were going to see these different departments and places, and But there's some work that you can do with the social media, and So if not your daughter, you ask me questions. I'll give you my feedback. I'll tell you what I did for my groups, but it's definitely grassroots what you're trying to put in motion, and it can only help with Quebec and people, how they are, and trying to enlighten them, awaken them in their own belief system that's a little bit regional, if I could say that. Yeah. Yep,
regional. That's a very good description.
Yeah. And don't worry about when they ask where you're from. I think it's a natural thing. I don't think it's a...
But I guess it's because I am from the United States, so it's not, we don't ask people where they're from.
Okay.
I guess because like the whole concept of
Because I get to ask too. I get asked that. Where are you from?
no, but
I get asked that.
I think that's just it. Like it's I guess it's the whole we have to unite. We're all American. We might be have another label attached to American, but we're all American. So it doesn't really matter where you're from. It matters what you do now that you're here. And so it's like that. We don't have that need. And with the history of the United States and the history of a lot of the terrible, terrible things that have been done in the United States and in other countries, we kind of have that. Let's forget about the past and the terrible things that we've done and just focus on what we're doing now. So we really don't have that digging into our past, asking people where their origins are and where they're from, because it's like
touchy subject.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could be a touchy subject, and it's more like let's just focus on now and today.
Yeah. Patriotism.
Yeah.
Nationalism. Isms. That's another topic. Because nationalism, where does it come from, and why does it affect, like, why is it in Quebec, why is it there so much, and why do people still cling on to that? And it's a legitimate thing. We want language to survive, we want culture to survive. But why is that a fight?
And why should it have to be a fight?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem. Why should it have to be a fight? Why can't it just be...
Because in Quebec, it seems political.
It is.
Like, why is language political? Why is it part of the political thing? And why does it get injected in conversations when it comes time to vote for a political party? It should be by default. Any party should just respect other cultures and other languages. And there shouldn't be like a race to who is the most knowledgeable of respectful of language and who's anyways.
No, it just really, it's a big thing about fear. We fear the unknown. We fear that if we don't have control of what's going on, something negative could happen. Which is, So I understand that fear concept, but it doesn't make it easy to live in or easy to live with.
Yeah, that's horrible when people use fear in their arguments to try to make their points come across. I hate that. I don't like that. Do you have any other things that you want to promote, like friends that you have that you're promoting some projects or stuff like that? Do you want to talk about it? Do you want to promote like pages or websites or stuff like that?
So Labor Day weekend, and I hope it's Labor Day weekend. Labor Day weekend, is that like that? The September 1st through. Okay. So Labor Day weekend in Montreal, there's a Montreal Fetish weekend.
Really?
Yes.
What's the website address? I can't even see it from here.
MontrealFetishWeekend.com.
Oh.
Yep. Plain and simple.
That looks fun.
Really great. Yeah, so it's just...
you can go as this guy. What's the name?
It's a minion.
A minion. You can go as a minion.
So so it is Labor Day weekend, August 30th through September 4th. It's in Montreal. The website, MontrealFetishWeekend.com. It's just really... a fun weekend full of different demonstrations, a lot of fashion. Because I will be participating as a model in the fashion show Saturday night. So it's a lot of fashion, a lot of fun, open-minded people just expressing themselves and sharing their stories and sharing their... A lot of latex, a lot of latex. The fashion show Saturday is all latex fashion.
Really?
Well, the majority of it is latex fashion.
Okay.
Absolutely beautiful things you can do with latex.
Really?
It's amazing.
I'm not aware of, but that's an excellent opportunity for me to look into it. So I'm sorry we didn't even talk about the past, your fashion past and modeling and all that stuff.
It's not past either. It's like
no, it's ongoing. So that's interesting.
Apparently,
I'm happy to see that you're still modeling.
Another reason I have to work out so hard.
If people want more information on your project, would they be able to go on LinkedIn, or do you want them to go contact you on LinkedIn?
They could contact me on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I guess Danielle Kaymore on LinkedIn.
I'm gonna guess that's how it goes. If that's
excellent,
how it is.
Excellent. Thank you very much again. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
It It was, and it's Friday, so let's people enjoy the weekend.
Yes.
Merci.
Oi!
Ah.